All right. Hariom, everyone. Hariom. Thank you for your patience. So today, as you may know, I am substituting for Hariji in today's class. So we will take a break from whatever train of thought he was picking up last week, and I will revisit Sadhana Panchakam. So last time I was here, we had seen a quick summary of verse 1 and 2. Today we'll see a summary of 3 and 4. So don't worry, I'll bring back what we talked about before, and that will be the topic for today. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with opening prayers, and then I will do lead and repeat style for verse 3 and 4. Follow along as best as you can. I will also be there to help, and then we'll chant all 4 verses together at once so that we get a feel for this stotram or this teachings before we get started. Okay? So with that, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right, so now we will look to verse number 3 in Sadhana Panchakam. If you don't have the text, that's okay. We'll go real slow, and if you could just repeat after me. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam. Shruti shiraf. Pakshas samashriyatam. Dustarkat suviramyatam. Shruti matas. Tarko nusandhiyatam. Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam. Aharahar garvav parityajatam. Deheham matirujyatam. Buddhajanair vadav parityajatam. Then for verse number 4, Kshudvyadhishcha chikitsyataam. Pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. Swadvannam natu yachyatam. Vidhivashat praptena santushyatam. Shitoshnadi vishahyatam. Natu vrita vakyam samucharyatam. Audasinyamabhipsyatam. Janakripa naishturyamutsrijyatam. Okay, So I'll go back to verse 3 and 4 and we'll chant this together. Vakyarthasya vicharyatam shrutishidav pakshas samashriyatam dustarkat suviramyatam shrutimatastarkonusandiyatam brahmasmiti vibhavyatam aharahar karvav parityajyatam Deheham matirujyatam buddhajanair vadav parityajyatam kshutvyaadhishcha chikitsyatam pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam swadvannam natu yachyatam vidivashat praptena santushyatam Shitoshnadi vishahyatam natu vrita vakyam samucharyatam Odasinyam abhipsyatam janakripa naishturyamutsrijyatam. All right. So in Sadhana Panchakam, we'd been seeing this as the last instructions that Adi Shankaracharya ji had given to his Shishyas before he attained Samadhi. This text then becomes the first teachings that the students take up, because this is a step-by-step instructions on progressing from the one who is completely seated in materialism all the way up to moksha itself. How does one walk through the steps of evolution to reach that? So in verse 1 and 2, we had seen the evolution of someone who has gone through brahmacharya ashrama, grahastha ashrama, and vanaprastha. Sorry, I'm mixing two things in my head right now. Brahmacharya ashrama, grahastha ashrama, and vanaprastha. All three have been covered in verse 1 and 2. The purpose of those is first we have to have knowledge about what the Vedas have to offer. That is the sole purpose of brahmacharya, and in fact that's the only instruction given in brahmacharya ashram, which is Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. May you daily study those Vedas, because that becomes the source of your knowledge for any question you may have in life. Whether it is, how do I deal with my husband or my wife or my children? Go to the Vedas. How do I deal with life at large, with politics, with community, with strategies? Go to Vedas. How do I reach Atma Jnana? Go to the Vedas. So, if any question we have, may we take recourse, refuge, support from the vast knowledge of systems, tested by time, tested by the Guru Shishya Parampara. What better reliable source do we have to lean on? So, Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. That is the foundation. Then, through Grahastha Ashrama, we start working on our immediate expressions of personality that can cause us to become distracted from the higher goals of life. What do we mean by that? Me living as this individual ego, having vasanas that act as like the colored glasses I wear on my face to see the world around me. If I wear pink colored glasses, how will the world look to me? Pink. If I change it out to blue, it'll look blue to me. So the world doesn't change, it's the way I look at it that changes. So may I make sure that my lens doesn't have one color over the other, it's actually clear. So we say that Grahastha Ashrama is meant to deal with this idea of vasanas. Vasanas divide this world to me with likes and dislikes. Therefore, I have attachments to my likes and aversions to my dislike. And with this, I navigate the whole world. And what do I encounter? Lobha or krodha. If I get what I want more of it. If I don't get what I don't want, or however that combination works, if I get obstructed, what do I feel? Krodha. How dare someone stop me from getting what I like, or how come you force me to have things I don't like? So this simple idea, this ego having vasanas, filtering life in either likes and dislikes, therefore developing attachments, aversions, and therefore developing lobha and krodha, keeps me constantly playing this nasty game of changes. Nothing ever seems to be satisfying, and I'm stuck. So, it's not the world I have to change. I have to change myself. So that is what Grahastha Ashrama is about. May I take recourse to the Shastras, find what does Dharma Shastras have to say about how I should live life. How do I deal with relationships? How do I deal with money? How do I deal with discipline? How do I deal with emotions? How do I process this in such a way that I start becoming less and less influenced by my vasanas? This is called Chitta Shuddhi. Shuddhi means to become pure. It's like cleaning up the glasses, making it crystal clear. What are we removing? This ego and its immediate expression as desires. May I reduce that and make it more calm and calm. This is Chitta Shuddhi. After having attained this, one of the last lines in Grahastha is Atme cha vyavasiyatam. I want that Atma. Why would somebody even have that question in the first place? I'm done with this game. I'm done with these ups and downs. Give me something permanent. I want some lasting happiness. Where is that truly out there in the world? Is it there? I want to know that. That comes about when we lessen the desires. What is worth pursuing now? That is when we graduate from Grihastha Ashrama into Vanaprastha. I have chewed on life. It has nothing else to offer me. I understand that this game of likes and dislikes is never going to give me true happiness. I'm ready to give it up. Give me something more permanent. I will now start focusing on that. This is the quality or hallmark of Vanaprastha. I want to start concentrating. This is also known as Chitta Ekagrataha. I will hold on to Bhagwan. I will hold on to the qualities that I'm supposed to develop. Shantyadif paridhiyatam. I think if I got that right. Shantyadi parichiyatam. Parichiyatam. Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhanam. These are the qualities I want to develop in myself. I will not be influenced by the whims and fancies of my own indisciplines. If I say shush, it's shush. If I say go to sleep, it goes to sleep. If I say stand up and work, it stands up and works. And I will not be disturbed by anything. Samadhanam. Things that I like come to me, great. Things I don't like come to me, great. Things I like go away, great. Things I don't like go away, great. 4 combinations, by the way. All of those variations, I am samadhana. I am not going to be disturbed because this comes out of my understanding. The variations of this world is not going to give me the solution. So why should I get disturbed? I will stay focused on what I need to. Having done that, we come finally to the acharya, guru. And of all the types of gurus in this world that can teach me so many different fields, there is one important guru I'm seeking, that is that Satguru. The one who knows that truth. The one who can truly answer this question, where will I find permanent happiness? This guru has to himself be established in that reality. And he must also have the ability to teach us. So he needs one hand here, one hand there, and he becomes the proper bridge to help me across. So he is Brahma Nishta Shrotriya. He knows the Shrutis in the techniques of teaching and understanding of where we are and how to lift us up. And at the same time, he has personal experience of what it's like to be established in that truth. To such a guru, his very feet, which represents that state of being, becomes worthy of worship. So I'm not worshiping him, I'm worshiping that which he stands upon, which is why Padukas become such a great symbol in our Sanatana Dharma. When Sri Ramchandraji left Ayodhya, what did Bharatji do? He said, I will never be king. You are meant to be king. In fact, I will take your Padukas and put them on the throne, and I will serve on their behalf. What they stand upon becomes the ideal in which I surrender to. This is that complete surrender that comes at the end of Vanaprastha. Now, having gone through this great evolution, we come to the point where now we're ready to listen. So sometimes you have to hit pause right there thinking, wow, I have a lot of work to do. This is what it takes to finally enter the realm of Atmajnana. Okay, we have a lot of work to do. But it's encouraging because this is something that every human has a right to attain. Shastras, time and again, and throughout Gita, Bhagavan Krishna will say, you can attain this. You must attain this. This is what you're born to do. Don't waste this life getting distracted by the world, getting distracted by things. This is what you're meant for. So it is highly encouraging. We don't say that you need to be of some sort of quality. He says, work. These are all the steps that you have to go through it. Do it. So once having developed all that, where are we now? This is when we come to see verse number 3 and 4. In summary, we would see the evolution of someone's understanding through Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. These are the 3 steps that they're going through now. In this phase, this is the beginning of Sannyasa Ashrama. So we finished Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha. Now in Sannyasa, there are 3 steps. Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. So what are these and what is entailed in each of these steps? That is what's being explained throughout verse 3 and 4. So we'll take a look at this. I'm not going to talk about Samadhi yet. That comes after. What is Shravana, what is Manana, and what is Nididhyasana? And what are all the potholes or risks that come up along these stages? Even that advice is being given here. So the very first one, Vakyarthasya Vicharyatam. Vakya Artha Vicharyatam. In the previous step, having surrendered to the Guru, Guru tells you one important statement, these Mahavakyas. Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. You are not different from it. You are verily that. That is where you are seeking. Okay, having said that, do I actually understand it? It doesn't make sense to me. Who is this Brahman? Who am I? And when you say you are one and the same, how is that even possible? So let's take, for example, Ishvara. What are some of the qualities he has? The descriptions given. Sarva Vyapi. He is everywhere. Sarva Shakti. He has all possible powers inherent in him. And Sarva Gnya. Gnya is Jnanam. He knows everything. He is the all-knowing Ishvara. That is Tat. What is Tvam here? Am I Sarva Vyapi? Am I everywhere? Definitely not. I wish I was. Moms especially feel this. I wish I was in 2 places at once. Am I Sarva Shakti? If I were that, then I don't need self-help books. I have all the powers in me. Sarva Gnya, then why even have books at all? I would have known everything. How can you say Tvam is that when apparently it seems so drastically opposite to each other? Vakya Artha, the meaning of those sentences, Vicharyatam. Think about it and contemplate on it. Because although the idea is given to you, doesn't make sense. There are too many apparent contradictions that come to my mind. I need to do thinking on it. But Shrutis are so benevolent, they even show us how to think. The next 3 instructions, I'm combining it together because this is the guidance on how to do vichara. Shruti Shira Paksha Samashriyatam. So first I'll just go through translation so we understand the sentence itself. Shruti, this is Vedanta specifically, Upanishads, and the highest messages given in the Upanishad. Shira means head, right? The most important, the topmost thing, right? What is the most important thing in a Shruti? It is these Mahavakyas. All of the other Shastras that are there, Ayurveda Shastra, Jyotisha Shastra, even Karma Kanda, Bhakti, Upasana, all of them are still in preparation of understanding the world and how to improve myself. But where is it all leading? Shruti Shira. to come to understand Tattvam Asi. So Shruti Shira, that most important standpoint, Paksha, on that side, Samashriyatam, take refuge in that standpoint. Take refuge in the truth of Brahman is how Puja Gurudev translates this. I'm just going through translation. We'll come back and weave these ideas together. What is the next instruction? Dustarkat suviramyatam. Avoid false logic or perverse logics. Dustarka. Don't try to get involved in unnecessary arguments. Don't believe in logic that sounds logical. Really look into the truth of it. Is it properly logical and substantiated? If it's not, let it go. Don't get lost in that. Then, Shruti matas tarkonusandhiyatam. Shruti mataha. Mataha means the opinion, the thinking. Mana mata, it's related that way. The thinking of the Shrutis, that logic, that tarka, anusandhiyatam. Follow it very well. Okay, so now let's put these three together. Stand from the paksha, the side of the Upanishads, and follow those logics, and don't get lost in dustarka. Now here, this is quite a subtle instruction being given here. Because sometimes when we have to do vichara, we don't know what questions to ask. We don't know what logic is worth following or thinking about. How do I navigate this then? So it is said that when those have come to understand the Upanishads, there were 6 different thought processes that came out, or 6 darshanas, that were interpreting the meaning of Tattvam Asi. The 6 are Nyaya and Vaisheshika. They're similar together, and they're purely on logic. That's their forte. That's what they're known for, logic. Then Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya and Yoga, they're more focused on practical applications, like sadhana, like what am I supposed to do? So for example, yoga, Patanjali Yoga you might be familiar with, right? Shama, Dhamma, then asana, pranayama, asanam, and then dhyanam. So there's, what am I supposed to do to gain moksha and nirvana? They're more on the practical application side. Then you have Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. These are now heading towards the Vedanta or the end of the Upanishads. They're looking at the Mahavakyas. Vedanta that we follow, the Advaita Vedanta, falls under Uttara Mimamsa, the last portions of analysis. Now, when we say dustarkat, don't follow false logic, we have to look to these 6 darshanas and figure out who was on the right track. What is right, what is wrong. So I'll give an example here. When we're trying to understand what is Brahman, we say it is Sat Chit Ananda. It is that existence, conscious bliss principle. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Some of them will make arguments against that. Some will say, no, it's not consciousness, it's actually inert. Atma is inert. Well, that is Nyaya. They'll say there's not one Atma, it's actually many Atmas that are in combination of knowledge and ignorance. It's okay, if we don't understand it, that's fine, but I'm just giving samples of what these 6 darshanas are talking about. Then Sankhya and Yoga say, Atma, there are many Atmas and they're all conscious. Then Mimamsa will say, there are many Atmas that exist in combination of knowledge and ignorance. And finally, Uttara Mimamsa will say, there is a non-dual conscious self. You're like scratching your head right now, like, okay, why does this even matter? What are we talking about again? When we're trying to make that equation, I am that, how can it be possible? What is the true nature of something? That is when we come to understand this Sat, Chit, Ananda, is it true or not? So, what is the strategy of vichara now? I have to stand from the standpoint of Uttara Mimamsa, Vedanta, quickly go, Uttara Mimamsa, then look to the other darshanas, look to these other arguments that are there. Can I address them using the logic that was given in the Shastras? And 3, 2, 1. All right. So with that, let's take one sample of logic that we might have to go through to make this a little bit more tangible. We are wanting to know the ultimate cause of something. Can it be many or should it be one? That's one debate. Ekam advayam is the principle that the Shrutis say. Is it true or false? This is one line of vichara. So bear with me here. I'm going to have to ask a couple of questions and I need answers from you. And we'll go through this logic here. Okay, so let's say I have a pot that was made of clay, right? When I say, what is that pot made of? What will you say? Clay. Easy, right? Now, can we say that the clay pervades the pot? Is that a true statement? The clay pervades pot. Yes? Then can we also say the clay is the cause of the pot? If I removed clay out of that pot, can that pot still exist? No. So you can say clay is the cause of that pot. Okay, so now let's apply to something else. Steel bowl. What is it made of? Steel. So steel pervades that bowl. Therefore, I can say steel is cause of bowl. All right, just to really hammer this in, one more example. Cloth. Let's say it's made of a cotton cloth. What is it pervaded by? What is the cause of the cloth? Cotton. Okay, so simple principle here. Now, here's the next set of logic. Can clay be the cause of the cloth? No, because it doesn't pervade, right? If it pervades, it's a cause. If it doesn't pervade, it's not the cause. Okay, so then we say that clay is not an ultimate cause. Okay, is there one thing that pervades cloth, steel bowl, and clay pot? Did I get all three? Pot, cloth, bowl. Okay. One substance that is common in all three, what would you say? Not yet. No, don't jump too far. What is common in all three? I'm looking for something else. It's not cotton. It's not clay. What is common in all of them? Not quite. I'm looking for something else. Think in terms of science. How would science say what's common in all of them? Huh? Matter? Solid? I heard atom. Did somebody say atom in there? Okay, let's take that. Atoms is common in all three. They're made of some sort of substance. Okay, so now someone would say matter is the pervading bowl, pot, and cloth. Matter is cause of those things. Now, can you go around? Yeah. Thank you. I learned, third time round. Now, can you name an object that does not contain atoms or substance? Amma, you had mentioned something. Space. Space doesn't have atoms or matter in there. So now you can't say atoms is the ultimate cause. Atom doesn't pervade everything. By the way, we just broke science. Because science is all about studying atoms, now they've come to the point saying we have to study space. They're now proposing something called a God particle that goes beyond neutrons, protons, electrons. They're trying to figure out what is that ultimate matter that pervades everything. So they're reaching those stages of analysis. Okay, so now we have all substances, we have space. Can we think of something that is common in both? What is common in both? Now we're getting a little abstract. My brain's a little stretched out right now. What is common in both space and matter? Air, not really. Air is in space. Space, is there something that makes up space? Okay, I'll give a break here. The answer then would be existence itself. Vacuum is, space is, matter is, therefore isness pervades everything. So isness, existence, is a cause of everything. Now let me ask you this logic one last time. Is there something other than existence? If you to point to it, you may say non-existence. Well, can non-existence exist? That's like a self-canceling sentence right there. My mind is like really warped at this point. So this is when Uttara Mimamsa says there can't be many Atmas because it cancels itself. There can only be one without a second. That one is existence itself. So this was a kind of a, although it sounded like simple questions, it's not a very simple logic. This was given in the Upanishads. Each of those different Upanishads had different styles of analysis. So Kathopanishad can do that. Kenopanishad looks through the idea, is it consciousness or is it inert? There's levels of analysis of that. So this simple exercise was to help us understand. We have to stand from the standpoint of what the Upanishad states. So, like ekam advayam is a statement made by the Upanishad. Stand on that side. Now look to the other darshanas that may say, no, we are multiple atmas. Okay, look to the Upanishads again. What does Kenopanishad say, or Kathopanishad, or Chandogya Upanishad, any of these Upanishads? What logic do they provide to address these other standpoints? Can I resolve them? So, again, coming back to this, Shruti Shiro Paksha Samashriyatam, stand in the standpoint of the Shrutis, Dustarkat Suviramyatam. Don't get lost in believing other darshanas. Why? Because Shruti Matas Tarkonu Sandhiyatam. Follow the logic given in the Upanishad that address these other issues, other logics. So, if you were to open up Bhagavad Gita, and especially the original works, and you look at Adi Shankaracharya ji, when he gives long bhashyas, commentary on particular verses, there every now and then, you'll see him going into this long conversation. What is going on in those conversations? You will always see Purva Paksha and Siddhanta. They will always mark those in that conversation. Siddhanta is the one who is Siddha in the Upanishad. So Shruti Matas Paksha Samashriyatam. Purva Paksha, the other side, they're bringing up an objection. This Siddhanta has to answer that other argument being given. This is what Bhashya will go through when we study Gita. When we go through the Upanishad, there are commentaries, Bhashyas, Tarkas, there are other words for it, but that commentary on commentary on commentary, they constantly think about these logics. What is the point of all this? Is it just to enjoy my intellectual self? Just to feel like I'm smart? No. Because at the end of the day, my point is, can I come to believe Tattvam Asi without an inkling of doubt in my mind? Because if any room of doubt remains, my nididhyasnam will go to waste. I have to have absolute clarity. There is no other possibility other than Tattvam Asi. There's no way. That kind of clarity and conviction is what has to come out of Mananam. Shravana is to hear Tattvam Asi. Mananam is to have no doubts in Tattvam Asi. But is that the end of the story? What? Everything's cleared up. I have no doubts. Everything was answered. I'm going to give another worldly example to show that our journey is not done yet. Is there anyone here who's a doctor in this room? Anyone who's a doctor? Okay. So, is it not true that some doctors, when they have all the knowledge of the human workings and what is good for it and not good for it, do they themselves follow their own advice? I have validation from a doctor here. So, one of the examples Puja Gurudev gave was the conundrum of a drunk doctor. See, at home, they know how the liver works, they know how the bloodstream works, they know what sort of, what do they call it? Sclerosis? The damaged liver with too much alcohol in it, right? Cirrhosis. Having known all of that, having absolutely no doubt that alcohol cannot be good for your liver, what do they do when they want to go home and unwind? A red wine. So this is to indicate, even if someone has gone through really good logic and has absolute clarity of what is right and wrong, we still have wrong tendencies lingering in us that keeps pulling us. This is when nididhyasanam becomes really important. Swamiji had given us a very simple English sentence that helps us understand what is nididhyasanam. It is correcting erroneous habitual thought patterns. Correcting erroneous habitual thought patterns. Now, we're not just talking about any daily habits here. I can't seem to get up at 6 a.m. It's an erroneous habitual thought pattern. No. We're digging real deep, right? We've done our purification. We've gotten self-control. What is this habitual wrong patterns we have in our mind? Thinking that I am this BMI. I know I'm Brahman, and yet why do I cry when it's cold? I know I'm Brahman, but how come I shout when I'm angry? I know I am Brahman, but how come I feel insulted when my idea gets rejected? Even though I know better, I still experience my old habits of living in this body, mind, and intellect. Therefore, nididhyasanam, now we'll see the next instructions. Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam. Always be absorbed in the attitude, I am Brahman. Brahma asmi iti. Be in that bhava. Now, when we say vibhavyatam, it's not just bhava, it's vibhava. Very well be in that state. It's one thing to understand it, but it's another to experience it. So let me give you an example here. When I say, who are you? Can you point to who you are? How are you supposed to answer that question? It's me. You point to yourself, but how do you explain the experience of being you? It's a bhava that can only be, you just have to come be me. That's the only way you're going to know who I am. There's no way, if I try to describe my body, it's just my body. If I lose a finger, if I lose a hand, I'm still me, am I not? If I keep changing my emotions, isn't it not still me? If my ideas keep changing, is it not still me? So I'm not my body, mind, and intellect, but yet why do I feel like I'm me? So that's the bhava we're trying to change. You are not you, you are that. What is that? What is that experience of being that? That is what Brahma Smiti Vibhavyatam. Now sit in the seat of meditation and constantly be absorbed in the feeling Brahma iti. Brahma asmi. Brahma asmi. I am that Brahman without a doubt. There was this stotram, if I remember correctly, Nirvana Shatkam. Nirvana Shatkam, if you're familiar with it. Na buddhyahankara chittani naham. I am not the buddhi, I am not the manas, I am not the ahankara. I am not the 5 senses of perception, I am not the 5 organs of actions. I am not even my memory, I am not even my very feeling, or jiva bhava. I am not dharma, I am not adharma. I am not even moksha, or I'm not even opposite of moksha, bondage. What is the purpose of that Nirvana Shatkam? When you're sitting in the seat of meditation, remove all things I am not. Ekam advayam. You can't have one, and you can't say I'm dharma, but I'm not adharma. How can you say that? You are one without a second. I am moksha, but I'm not bondage. How can you say that? So the whole Nirvana Shatkam is not just a bhajan that we sing. It is aids to meditation. I am not any form of limitation. I am not any form of plurality. I am that Brahman. Remove all that you are not and come to discover who you are. The best analogy for this was like on a cloudy day, the sun is always shining, but do we feel it? No, it's cloudy. So if I want to feel the sun, what do I need to do? I need to remove the clouds. I don't need to create the sun. So in the same way, I remove everything that I'm not. I don't need to create myself. Self has always been there. It has always been me. If we say Brahman is that is all pervasive, it's already here. I don't need to do anything with it. I just need to remove things that are blocking me from realizing that. So I like the word realization more than any other translation for moksha. It's not like liberation. Realization is like, yo, I've been this entire time. I didn't know this. How stupid was I? I was here this whole time. I can't believe I didn't see it. That realization is not this like grand like aha moment where golden gates open and it's this grand glorious thing. It's a moment of like stupidity. Like, really? I didn't know this was me the whole time. So I like the word realization. I realized who I was this whole time. Now, interestingly, from this point onwards, from verse 3 and 4, I'm just going to read the translation. It feels like we just took a step backwards. There's a twist in the road. After saying, always be absorbed in the attitude of I am Brahman, he says, renounce pride. Renounce the misconception that I am the body. Renounce the tendency to argue with wise men. In hunger and disease, treat it. Daily take medicine of bhiksha. Don't beg for delicious food. Live contently on whatever comes to you. Don't argue. Be indifferent. You're like, wait, slow down. Why are we talking about food and not arguing when we were all the way at this point of nididhyasanam, almost into samadhi? Because this is the greatest warning that Adi Shankaracharya is giving us. Even someone who has gone through Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagrataha, has surrendered to a guru, has gone through Shravana, Manana, and has established themselves in Nididhyasanam, the risk of the ego coming up is always there. Even for an advanced seeker, there's an issue of this ego. See, even that sentence, an advanced seeker. Aha. The ego sits up a little bit taller, doesn't it? I have done so much effort in studying. I have put in so much effort in doing nididhyasanam. I spent 3 years every day practicing 6 hours of meditation. Doesn't that, that ego gets real well settled into our own mind? This is why he immediately says, renounce pride. That ahankara will still come up at this point. Now, you can't tell that ahankara in this point of evolution, have humility. Be humble. That ego will not listen. Why? Because it says, why should I be humble? I already did my sadhana. I am samatvam. I have gone through all these qualifications. Humbleness is not enough at this point. We have to now start asking, to uproot this ego, who are you to have pride? Who has the pride of saying, I have learnt so much? Is it you or is it the intellect? Who has been sitting in the seat of meditation putting in effort? You or the mind? Who are you? Ego, who are you? As soon as you start asking those questions, that ego, it itself will dissolve. It has no ability to give you a real answer apart from body, mind, and intellect. So at this point, that ego has to be addressed with an intellectual approach. Whenever that pride comes up, you ask it, who are you? Who is having this pride? Who is the one that's taking immense pleasure in being so advanced? Is it you, body, mind, and intellect, or is it me? It cannot be me because I am not the body, mind, and intellect. This belongs to the body, which is why the next sentence makes sense. Give up the delusory misconceptions, I am body. Now here, body is not just physical body. We're talking about all three bodies. Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira. Stula is gross body, the waking state, where all my senses are active. Sukshma Sharira is the subtle body, that is mind and intellect, also equal to the dream state. In dream, the senses are shut down, body is like completely still, but the mind is still active. Then even the Karana Sharira, the cause of all things, which is ignorance itself. This ignorance I experience in deep sleep. Because in deep sleep, the mind is not alive. I say, I know nothing. So all three of these bodies, I am not it. This is how I undo the pride that comes up at this point. Give up the delusory misconception, I am the body. Now, another way this ego has a tendency to express itself, not only in my own heart as the feeling, but how does it express in the world outside? He says, arguments with wise men. Buddha janair vadaf parityajyatam. Wise men. Who are these wise men specifically here? It's like these other 6 darshanas. They have spent their lifetime studying those things. They've become well versed in those shastras. You're standing from the standpoint of Uttara Mimamsa, rolling up your sleeves saying, I know a lot, I'm going to argue with you and put you in your place. Who's doing this? Ego. He says, don't get distracted in trying to prove yourself to the world. You've just gone backwards in your effort. If you find yourself wanting to argue with others, know that that is the rise of the pride. Give up the tendency to argue with wise men. Yeah, if they're wrong or whatever, leave them be. Let them figure it out. They're on their process of journey of figuring it out. Why are you taking up pride to argue with people? Give it up. Stay focused. Who are you? You are Brahman. Anything that arises other than this, give it up. This is a warning here. Then, of course, this is probably now becoming my favorite verse of all time. Verse number 4, 4 instruction. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5. 4.5, I'll say, entirely about food. Therefore, it's becoming my favorite. Here it says, Kshudvyadhishya chikitsyatam. Kshud is hunger, and I can extend that to thirst. Vyadi means disease. Kshut vyadi chikitsyatam. With both of these things, what can I do? What must I do? Treat them as quickly as possible. That too, pratidinam. So when it comes to hunger and thirst, how many times do I get hungry? Every 4 hours? Every 6 hours at best? Every time that hunger comes up, treat it like it's a disease. If you actually do have a disease, treat it daily until that disease goes away. Diligently treat it, no other choice. Because this body is the vehicle for our sadhana. I wouldn't be on this path without this body here. And this is the price or taxes I have to pay for being born in this body. This is all I got. Without this, I can't reach it. Without this, I shouldn't get consumed by it either. So treat it like it's a kshut and vyadi chikitsyatam. It's just hunger, it's just disease. All it requires is medicine. Which is why the next line says, pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam. Every day, ask bhiksha for aushadhi. Aushadhi is a medicine. What is medicine? Food. Ask bhiksha for food every day. What? You want me to go outside like I see in the movies and hold a kamandalu, knock on somebody else's door and ask bhiksham dehi mata, bhiksham, what? You want me to do that? It's the attitude. It's the attitude behind it. When we start looking at food as medicine, does not our entire mentality change? It's no more about, I like Karela and I love, sweet chocolate. Sorry, should I have switched that around? I love chocolate, I don't like Karela. This attitude of likes and dislikes will automatically come up around food. It's the fastest one to come up. He says, with that attitude of bhiksha, this is medicine. When we have, cough, the flu, well, how does that medicine taste? Blech, it's awful. Well, what do? Doesn't matter. So every 6 hours, I have to show up at that counter, take that medicine, swallow it, and be done with it. That's the same attitude with hunger, thirst, and disease. Just take care of it in its appropriate manner when it should be. Don't fuss with it. So this is the do. Treat it like bhiksha, treat it like medicine, and at the same time, swadvannam natu yachatam. Swada annam. Delicious tasting food. And I think isn't there an Indian brand of food in the Indian store called Swad? They're pretty smart in naming that brand. Swadvanam. So therefore, go buy different brand of food. No. Here, it means don't hanker after delicious food. Don't crave and become desperate and hunt for delicious food. You know how much effort that takes? Think about it. This food industry has the Michelin star ratings. You have Yelp system. You have Uber Eats with ratings on it. Why? Because all of us are hunting for good food. And especially when you're a horrible cook yourself, you suffer this a lot. Man, I can't cook food like anything. I need to go out and find good food. Who's the best cook? Who's the good restaurant? I have to leave the house. I have to go pay food. I have to sit there and eat and then come back. Otherwise, I have to DoorDash it and wait for it to come to me. How much time and effort do we waste in seeking out delicious food? But on the other hand, if I was very content, okay, what comes, comes. What doesn't come, come. If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. How much energy have I saved just with that mental attitude? So much. Now, the thing is, this was a really good sadhana for me after I came back from the Vedanta course. One story here. When we were in the Vedanta course, there was this one Christmas break we had. All the acharyas left because they had some formal conference to go to. What did us wonderful brahmacharis do during that time? We were like wolves let out of the cage. We're like, there's no supervision. We get the open kitchen to ourselves. We get to cook anything we want. So me and another brahmachari especially decided we're going to go all American on this. I'm going to make cheese hash browns, and he picked, pancakes with syrup and fruit and whipped cream. We went all out. And after that, the rest of the brahmacharis, they all had plans. Okay, we're going to make Gujarati food for lunch. We're going to make North Indian food for dinner. The next day, we had 3 or 4 days, right? So we planned out every meal. After me and my brahmachari, we both cooked that morning, all of us gorged on it, and none of us were to be seen for the next 8 hours. Why? Because we were knocked out. Our own eyes were bigger than our stomachs. This is what that entire weekend, that entire 3 or 4 days was a complete waste. We were supposed to be Bhattu brahmacharis that are supposed to be, studious and want to learn. How did we spend our time? Eating and sleeping. This is how we can get distracted very quickly when it comes to the tongue. So instead, the idea is bhiksha. So when we came back, Swamiji taught me, we do Brahmarpanam, we chant chapter 15, but there's another mantra we chant right before we eat. Annapurne Sadapurne Shankarav Pranavallabe Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Bhiksham Dehi Cha Parvati Mata Cha Parvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwaraha Bandhava Shiva Bhaktascha Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. This one is recognizing Annapurna Devi in the form of food right in front of me. She has come in the form of Mata. By the grace of Bhagwan Shiva, he has sent her to me. She, in the form of nutrition, is sustaining this body with that reverence, with that prayer. I accept this bhiksha as the medicine for this disease and hunger that will plague me for the rest of my life. She is the divine grace that helps me tame the stomach and tongue. That is a more reverential approach to food. So one time, Swamiji had told us, don't ever comment on food, either this way or that way. Take that as the first exercise. I said, okay, fair enough. And then I asked Swamiji, yeah, but Swamiji, when we get Bhiksha, these ammas look at us. How is it? And you tell us not to comment, and we're just supposed to stare at them? He's like, of course. When they ask, go ahead and have a conversation, and you're making objective comments on the food. Or to just help her feel better for the seva that it's not for you, it's for her that you're making that conversation. But other than that, don't say a single word. I said, okay, that makes sense, fair enough. So the next day, I also have, I'm sitting next to Swamiji, I'm eating quietly. I didn't make any comments, I wasn't even talking. Swamiji nudges me, hey, no comments. I was like, Swamiji, I didn't say anything. He's like, yeah, but I can see the look on your face and I see how you're eating. There's a lot of commentary going on in your head right now. Why? Because I would eat the karela first, save the sweet for last. I would slow down when there's ghee on my plate. There's enough commentary happening in my mind that it was speaking volumes to him. So he reminded me again, no comments. Bhiksha bhujyatam. This is medicine. Do not let the ego come up once again in this scenario. May you have that samatva. This is the body. Just like, do you get overwhelmed or desirous of having gasoline? Or what is it? What are the 3 grades? Unlead, lead, diesel? Do you crave after diesel? No. It's a car. It requires gas, the right kind of gas, so I fill it every time and we're done with it. Just like how I'm detached from my car, can I be detached from this body and treat it as a vehicle for my sadhana? So can I maintain that attitude? So here's the second warning again. In nididhyasnam, when someone is trying to remain still and undisturbed, the ego comes up in these forms. The stomach and the tongue are our biggest challenge. If there's any organ we want to self-discipline, it is this tongue, 3 inches. Because it is both the organ of perception of taste, and it is also the organ of action of speech. So immediately following this, he says, Natu vrita vakyam samucharyatam. Avoid wasteful talk. Avoid wasteful talk. In this case, don't waste energy trying to express things from your ego standpoint. In that situation that has come to you because of prarabdha, do you have responsibilities to address it? If so, address it. After that, let it go. If you keep talking, it is your ego trying to be involved and invested. Mark that sign. So in this case, in Gita, there are 3 principles that guide us on well-spoken speech. Is it priyam, hita, and satyam? So start with satyam. Is it truthful? Never, there's no exceptions to this. Don't ever speak untruth. That is not what we are as Sanatana Dharmis. We follow satyam from the practical level all the way to the highest level, satyam. Then hitam, is it useful or not? Even if it's the truth, if it's not useful, don't say anything. That's also a possibility. Then finally, if it must be said for the usefulness of a situation, for benefit of others, say it in such a way that it can be received. Priyam. Why didn't you call me at 11 o'clock at night? Where were you? Who were you with? Where is this conversation happening? Between parents and children. As soon as they come home at 1 o'clock in the morning. And what are you doing? Yelling at them. See, you're right, satyam, to ask questions. And you are saying it because it's useful for their discipline. But it's not priyam. Why? Because in the heat of that moment, you're trying to have an argument. You're shut down, they're shut down, there's no conversation happening. Useless or wasted conversation. So instead, if they were to come home at 1 o'clock, even though you've been trying to get them home on time, first ask them, are you okay? Are you safe? Everything fine? Okay, go to bed. I'll talk to you tomorrow. After everybody has calmed down and the situation has passed, it's not the heat of the moment, you're calm now at home, in dinner, hanging out or something. Hey, yesterday when you came back, I was genuinely worried. You can understand why, yes? Okay, next time this happens, how can we be on the same page so that we may not stress each other out? You participate in this conversation. A whole other dynamic, is it not? Even if you have to be strict. Listen, this is the third or fourth time. How can we be more disciplined about this? We need more structure. We need more accountability. Let's agree to do this. And next time I enforce this, you cannot be mad because we were coming to an agreement on this. A much more calmer, there's a way of having conversation. Even if it's satyam, even if it's hitam, there are certain strategies. It's a skill set. It's an art. Let us look to Ramayana and Mahabharata in the way people speak, the context, the time, the place, the sequence of events that make communication so much more worth it. Avoid wasteful speech. So if there's any if there's any organ we want to take to practice self-discipline and to understand the presence and absence of ego, it is this tongue. So at this point, for someone who has gone through all of these stages in advanced Nididhyasanam, even this advice comes back up. May these distractions never block us from the true pursuit of understanding who I am. May I be mindful of distractions and learn how to navigate them and continue my journey of evolution. So there's a lot more. I had to skim through a bit of this, but hopefully, if there's any one thing, let us keep our eyes focused on what the goal is. May I look to the Shrutis as my guideline of how to navigate them, and may they help me in addressing any distractions that come up. The expressions of the ego are those distractions. So next time I come back and substitute, we might pick up this topic and continue with that. Thank you again so much for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha